because cells are awesome. Woo! We are made of cells. We are made of trillions and trillions and trillions of cells. And actually, like I said, most of our body, though, if we counted up all the cells in our body, we would be outnumbered by bacterial cells. So there are actually more bacterial cells in our body than there are human cells, and they live mainly in our gut. But they're very, very, very small. So total weight of bacterial cells would be like 3 to 5 pounds of your body weight. So we talked about the cell membrane, and we talked about cytoplasm, and we talked about cell wall. So let's talk about the energy that cells need. How we get the energy, where it comes from. Woo! So here we go. Brutus is here. He's excited. Remember, it's a life science class, so he might come in and co-host. Hopefully he's going to speak for us a little. So let's look at some parts of the cell that are involved in energy production and usage. So in the most important process of life, really, is photosynthesis. Look at the word here. We'll break it down. Photo, prefix, means light. Light. If you take photography, it's actually, you're writing with light. Graphy means write. So when you create pictures, you're using light to create those pictures, because without any light, the picture would not be there. It'd be just black. All right? We have to use flash in the dark. It gives it that light. Synthesis means making something. Photosynthesis now. The thing that is created is actually sugar, which is packed with energy, as you know, I'm sure. So plants and bacterial cells, some bacterial cells, not all bacteria, but cyanobacteria, perform photosynthesis. And actually we get most of the oxygen gas that we need to breathe actually comes from cyanobacteria in the ocean. So it's a very, very, very important part of existence, of life, really. So creating sugar with light, using light to make food, really. That's what sugar is. So plants and some bacteria can do this. They use the sunlight, the light from the sun, to make sugar. And we are going to spend a lot of time talking about how this process works. But since right now we're just really going to look at how does it work in the cells. Woo! I just want to give you a general overview of what it is. So photosynthesis, we need light. So photosynthesis, making sugar with light. So here we go. Let's start. What do we need first? What do plants and these cyanobacteria need to perform photosynthesis? First thing in photosynthesis now, what do these plants and bacteria need to perform photosynthesis? Well, let's see. First thing is they use carbon dioxide. I'm going to write like the chemical symbol here for carbon dioxide. So it's carbon with 2 oxygens. So CO2. CO2. And you've probably heard about the CO2, how it's contributing to climate change and everything. So humans, we are producing an excessive amount of CO2. Not just when we breathe out CO2, but when we run factories, the emissions from our cars, generates a lot of carbon dioxide. And that can trap heat in the atmosphere. And when it traps the heat in the atmosphere, it leads to increased temperatures on the planet Earth. And that leads to climate change. All right, so CO2, though, is used by plants and bacteria. This is why they're so important, because they can suck up that CO2. So now we have CO2. What else do plants need? They need, plants and the bacteria need water. So H2O. And then I want to draw an arrow. So when we show a chemical reaction, which is really a reaction where what you start with is not the same as what you end up with. So the before and after. So I know you guys see pictures like before and after. Like people that lose a lot of weight, they usually post a before picture, and then they post an after picture, and usually the after one, they look a little thinner, I guess. Maybe not always, but the before and after are usually different pictures. So in a chemical reaction, anything before the arrow is what you start with. Okay, so the arrow indicates a reaction happening. Okay, so there's some symbols we use to indicate things are happening here. So a chemical reaction is when we're going to rearrange the atoms, and it's going to change. So the before and after are different. Okay, the main thing that's produced is sugar in the form of glucose. So glucose, C6H12O6. Okay, you should know this. So this is the formula for glucose. Glucose is a sugar. So this is glucose. Okay. Now, you know what? I'm going to rewrite this a little smaller so it's all on one line here. Actually, okay, so now normally I write the reaction on one line, but I'm running out of room. So I'm going to have to add some things down here. So it's sugar, and what else is produced? What do we breathe in? Oxygen. So oxygen is also produced. Oxygen. Okay, and it's actually 6 oxygen, 6 carbon dioxide, 6 water, 6 carbon dioxide. So, and ATP, which is, no, okay. So now in a reaction, when we write a reaction, this is how it's written. So this would be what we start with, and then we have an arrow indicating a reaction, and then this is what we end up with. So the before and after are different. The arrow indicates reactions happening. And anything that is not actually changed in the reaction, but is required, would go above the arrow. So I'm going to write light, because this can't happen without light from the sun. So light is unchanged. If I were to add light, put light over here, it'd be confusing because we're not actually changing light, but we're using it. So if a reaction uses something, you can put it there, light. So this is the reaction for photosynthesis. Now I'm going to rewrite it so it's on one line. We're going to look at it. So this is a reaction for photosynthesis. And this happens in the part of the cell called the chloroplast. So chloroplast. Chloroplast is the part of the cell where photosynthesis happens. So as you can guess, animals don't have chloroplasts, but plants do. And the bacteria that can perform photosynthesis also does. So chloroplast is where you'll find the chloroplast. There's like a chloroplast. So in this chloroplast, this is where photosynthesis happens. All right?